Hey, Paella Man, wing one up here.
I can't believe this place used to be an internment camp.
Whatever did you do, Mo? Taking down today's super predators like the electric eel and the flying squirrel. Open wide for some soccer! That's right, everyone. The Springfield Continental Soccer Association brings you, hey, everybody, it's Dominic DiTolla. I'm with the Sports Experience Podcast, sitting next to my friend Chris Quinn. How are we doing today?
Oh, man, we are doing so good.
We are
back
doing
in the
great.
saddle,
Hell
talking
yes.
soccer.
Let's get some soccer going.
Kind of want you to do one of those intros and then us going to like hockey or something, and people get super.
Oh, right,
Shit,
just
did I spoil that one? Don't
hot-
worry, no one's gonna listen.
I'm assuming a lot of our listeners are very baked, so I think that would be good.
It's gonna fucking work so hard.
Wait, college football?
Exactly. All right, let's get into it. We're talking about the Danish National Team from the 80s to the 90s. It's when they kind of blossomed as a soccering country, if you will.
Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know a lot, actually, really anything about Danish sports. Like when I think Denmark, I think Hamlet or fairy tales like The Little Mermaid or the type of socialism that Bernie Sanders' old cock masturbates to. Like, I think of that when I think of Denmark, but not soccer.
Well, here we go. And what I was thinking of is it's a lot like in the United States from 94 to like 2006, where soccer really blossoms in that country.
Yeah.
But this is where in Denmark, because of various things, like we see Italy, it's always been there. France, it's always been there. But in Denmark, they've really been more of like a hangout kind of culture, if that makes sense.
They're like the nice Wooderson.
Ooh, I like that.
Outside the Emporium, like,
Yeah.
all right, look at them balls. I tell you what.
I'll tell you what, my brother. So Danish soccer, and we're going to get right into it. So in 71, the Danish Federation allowed players to become professionals.
Which is crazy to even think that it's that late.
And exactly. And so in 71 that happens. They don't have a league until 78.
Yeah, I had read that too.
So this kind
February.
this kind of reverberates later on, where we see a majority and pretty much all of their good players play outside of Denmark.
It kind of reminds me of like the United States during that period. Like guys like Alexi Lawless, which we talked about, where he played in Italy, I think.
Well, that was our mistake. What we said was he was playing in Italy doing well, and then we called him back for the MLS creation. That was our mistake as the United States.
Yeah, you got to let these guys play where they're doing well.
Well, you got to let them
doing
play in a better league.
for the national team.
Exactly.
Play against better players.
So in 78, they finally get a league going, but at that point, pretty much all of their great players play in Madrid. And this is why when I was researching it, I was like, it's going to tie back in.
Yep.
From 75 to 82, they had 7 players go to Ajax and play under Johan Cruyff.
That's always a good decision.
And this is why it ties back in, because from this decade in the 80s to the early 90s, they're looked at as, really in the mid 80s, they're looked at as the Dutch team, but fast forward.
That's really fucking cool, though. I
So
think. Yeah.
So we have let me get some names: Frank Eason, Yerber Olsen, and Olsen is so good. Jan Mulby, and Mulby said, and I said this in the Cruyff episode, he said about Cruyff, because they were talking about how they kind of came together in this formation that I'll talk about here in a minute. He said like Cruyff was one of the best football minds ever. So this was his quote. He was like a king holding court. He knew everything. You couldn't help but listen. At times you wanted him to shut up, but he just wouldn't. And it's
great.
It's such a Cruyff thing, because he knew so much and he just wanted to teach so much. So that's
great.
That's where this core group of guys come together in the early 80s.
Yeah, he's like Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society.
Oh, man,
Everyone
that's
is
good.
just brainwashed at the end, standing on their desk and kicking goals for Denmark.
God, it's so good. But that's why I love this, because Cruyff has this, just like this huge paint splatter of influence all across Europe. and United States. So
He's like Napoleon without the murder.
yes. Okay. Yes. Without the murder. Okay. Fine. So in 78, I wanted to talk about this too. Back in 78, they get their league sponsorship, and they're such a group of unprofessional soccer players that Carlsberg, the
Great beer, by the way.
the beer company, comes in and offers them $1 million as a sponsorship, which is a ton back then. It's nothing now, but it was a ton back then if they put rules in for their professionals. So if they stated rules like you can't go out drinking all night, you can't go out.
A beer company saying that?
Well, yes, because they felt like the teams were so unprofessional that they would not be taken realistically.
It's like those always at the ends of those beer commercials. It's like, yeah, you're gonna have sex with beautiful women and have good times with friends. Please enjoy responsibly.
Exactly, and that's literally what they wanted because. And this is what one of the other best quotes about this team was in 81, 82, when they really started to show people that they were a great team. The quote was, as a national they're an international team, or excuse me, let me see the quote because I just messed it up. They were an international team in name and a pub team in nature, because and if you look at they looked like rock stars of that era with like the shitty mustaches, and they're just like smoking cigarettes out there, and they're just like they had this like nightclub that they went to called the Clubhouse that they were like renowned, like every night they would go there.
So if like Tucson Comedy created a rec soccer league, it would be that.
Oh my God, 100%. And we wouldn't even have to change our haircuts.
No, not at all.
And that's so that's why when they started doing well, people are like, "What the hell?" Because they were like a pub team.
I love teams like that, like the 93 Phillies or even the 86 Mets, just dudes with guts dicking around, having a good time and winning.
Exactly.
Johan Cruyff can fix everything. That's what the point of that was.
Yes, that's a good callback on that. But in 79, they were able to, with this sponsorship money, they were able to hire, I hate to say a non-Danish coach, but a coach with experience.
A coach with experience probably in Europe's top professional leagues.
Exactly, which is really what they needed. I'm trying to find his name. Pinotek. I'm saying that wrong.
This is hard. Those names are hard, man.
I know, and I was trying to practice it before, but then when I get into the limelight, I'm just like, ooh. But yeah, he took over in 79, and he immediately complains about pretty much what every manager of the international game complains about. They're like, yeah, I see these guys for like a span of 6 days for like 4 or 5 times a year. So I can't instill them the system that I want, and they're all unprofessional.
No cohesion, and they're probably like, I'm here for a week. Who cares?
And then this is what I mean was so lucky, was they were all, this is like the midfield that I'm talking about, and the forwards were pretty much all on the Dutch, on the Ajax kind of regiment or in the Dutch league.
Yeah.
And it really, he as a coach didn't force his schemes on them. He let them play what would be like a melding of this Danish-Dutch game. Yeah, which let them flourish.
Stroop waffle soccer, that's what I'm calling it.
Ooh, I like a good Stroop. I'm not going to even lie. A little coffee, a little Stroop.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's kind of interesting because they were literally nobodies. They were the dregs. Yeah. And then in 81, they won 8 out of their 9 games in World Cup qualifying.
Which is amazing.
They were so bad in the years leading up that wasn't even good enough.
Oh, man.
And they gave Italy their only loss leading up to the World Cup.
Oh, in 82?
In 82, and Italy ended up winning.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and people were looking at that like, hold on, they beat Italy 3-1? Like, who is this Danish team? Like, what are we even talking about? And that's when in 82, actually more like 83, that's when the formation really came to be the first ones really to run 3 in the back, 5 in the middle, and 2 up front.
Okay.
And that's why it's a Danish-Dutch kind of thing, because they had the Dutch mentality of total football.
Yeah.
But it was Danish because, and this is why I loved this coach, was he was like, I had 7, 8 world-class midfielders.
Use them all.
I had 2, maybe 3 good defenders. So he took that 4th defender off and he clogged up the middle and he let them pretty much play with in, their understanding of each other.
Yeah.
And that formation is, we still see teams play it today.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's sweet.
So that's what we see in 83. And then
Was it?
So
84, yeah.
Yeah, because it's really, if you think about it, it's every 2 years we have these giant, tourneys. So, and 84, they go to.
They qualified for the Euros that year.
Oh no, yes, they qualified for the Euros in 84, but they did okay there.
Yeah, but they had that big win against England that year, correct?
Yes. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to look that up.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
No, yeah. And that was the thing, was they had this big win against this powerhouse. So people are like, what is this? And then, but the Euros are a tough one. That's all I can say. Yeah. And then in 85, leading up to the World Cup in Mexico, and this is the other thing I wanted to bring up because we were talking about this 86 World Cup with Maradona and Argentina. And in 85, leading up, they had 8 games. So like I said, leading up to that last World Cup when they beat Italy, they had 8 games, and 4 of them, they scored 0 goals. And in the other 4, they scored 17.
Wow.
And people were saying that once this team kind of got fully formed, was they were so volatile, it's hard to tell if they're going to beat you 5-1 or if you're going to beat them 3. Or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like a baseball team, like those mid-90s Mariners teams that just had, I think they had like a year where they had like 3 guys over 40 home runs and like 6 guys with over 20. And it's like they had no pitching.
Yep.
Absolutely no pitching. And it just is volatile up and down.
Or like a basketball team that lives on the 3-point line. Like,
oh, yeah, like Houston with all that analytics bullshit.
Exactly.
Hey, everybody. Just want to take a quick break to let you know that our Sports Experience podcast is brought to you by Engle Studio here, and they're here in Tucson for all your recording needs.
And that's really kind of what they were doing, because they didn't have the core group of guys, defenders, really, to play this formation, but they still...
But you have all those midfielders.
Yes. And I just wanted to point this out because going into the 86 World Cup, they were looked at as the world's second team. So everybody like going into these giant tourneys are like, well, I'm gonna root for my team, United States, but I'm also gonna root for, Italy.
Such and such.
Yeah. And the reason for that, and this is why I brought it up earlier in the podcast, was they hadn't created their league until 78, even though they let guys be pros for 71. So all of their pros went everywhere else. So for this 86 World Cup team, they were champions from Italy, West Germany, England, Holland, and Belgium, and not a single guy from the Danish championship team.
That's probably a big reason why they're everyone's second favorite team, because maybe another country's favorite player is a Dane.
Exactly. And they were the first country to really show this, because at this time, other countries weren't. They would have like 1 or 2 players go play somewhere else, or you know what I mean, of their top players.
Like Argentina with Maradona, where he's playing in Italy and Spain. Yeah.
Well, I just mean for like for European teams.
Oh,
or for European countries, because
okay, yeah.
because you would just be like, why aren't you just playing here at home? And they were the ones that realized, like, no, we have a league, but it's shit compared to these other leagues. Please go there and be the best you can. And that's why they were so important, because they showed all these other little countries like, no, you can still have giant soccer stars in a second, third-rate league.
Get ready for success, Luxembourg.
Yes, exactly. No shit, though, because you look at these countries like Belgium and Denmark who have these unbelievable soccer players, and their leagues just aren't that great because they just don't have the people to support it.
Yeah, there's no
not enough
population volume there. I mean, like,
exactly. But they this is why I love it, because the Danish in this era were the first ones to figure it out. And then in the 86 World Cup, in their group stage is some of the best soccer that you'll see from this era.
That's awesome. No, that's legit. Who was in their group?
All right, so let's go.
Is
let's
it
go
that
through
group
it because
of death we've discussed before?
kind of. So I want to. It is and it isn't. So it's hard to even. We'll get it. So they beat Scotland 1-0.
Okay.
And Scotland was good that year, but not great. That's why kind of they're not group of death. The next game they play Uruguay.
Yeah, and they're always somehow
And Uruguay
good.
was supposed to be great that year.
Interesting.
So like they were supposed to be the top of the league. It was them kind of, and Germany we'll talk about next. And they the Danish go up 1-0, and they're dominating possession so much that a Uruguay player gets so frustrated that he like has a ridiculous tackle and gets a red card. And a lot of people, because they go on winning 5-1, and a lot of people were like, yeah, they won 5-1 because he got a red card. And people are like, no, they would have probably won 4-0 because they were like, that was the thing, was they would dominate teams because their formation was so unique in the fact that they were so defensive in midfield and so offensive in midfield.
Well, it's wonky. It's like we talked about in the Hawaii episode with that flex bone offense.
Exactly.
You can't prepare for it. Like you have to prepare for it the week of because nobody else runs it.
Especially in Uruguay.
Yeah.
Why would anybody in South America be running this 3-back weird ass? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I loved the World Cup from this era. And then they play West Germany so obviously they're neighbors to West Germany.
Yeah. Got a lot of land taken in a specific war from Germany.
And they don't like them very much.
No.
They've asked to play them in friendlies before.
Yeah.
Especially leading up. So like 80 to 85, they were asking West Germany a lot to play friendlies. And one time West Germany said, okay. And they sent like a C team. Like they sent like their under 20 team. And the Danes beat them, but they were like, yeah, that wasn't your team. And it was almost
consider your Vazi.
Exactly. It was almost disrespectful. So then when they meet them here in West Germany, a lot of people thought that they should have taken it off. And teams do this on the third game of the group after they win the first 2 games because they're already advanced.
Yeah.
And they feel like you should rest some of your top players. The coach, who was German, was just like, no, we're going to beat West Germany.
That is such a German mentality.
And,
oh my God.
And that's what happened. So they go on and they beat them 2-0, but one of their players gets a red card late in the game.
Oh yeah, that's the suspension card, right? Or
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
Sorry.
he that's all right. So he misses the next game, which is the semis, and that's what people were saying was like, this is great for the Danish mentality, but overall it probably was a bad tactically a mistake.
Yeah.
Because this is the other thing was he as a coach like was grueling. So he had this like almost concentration style camp lead up.
Oh my God, really?
Where he had no phones, no TVs. It was like cement rooms that he kept him in. And then he like kept doing like, I think about it like high school football where like, now we're doing 2-a-days. Now we're doing 3-a-days.
Oh,
now we're
God.
doing 4. And they knew it was in Mexico. So he like was getting him to try and train at like high altitude.
Oh,
So
my
he was,
God.
it was very like, he was very smart in that aspect, but some people think they were overworked. And so they
Yeah,
had
because you gotta play a ton of games in the World Cup. I mean, in a short
in
amount
a
of
short
time.
amount of time. So they had this unbelievable stint in the group stage where they played without a doubt the best soccer. They meet up with Spain in the semis. Spain goes up 1-0, and then just the fucking wheels come off. And
5-1. Yeah.
People say they looked tired, and that's where it kind of reverberates to the coach.
Man, it's one thing to do a curfew. It's another to be like, you're living in the Stone Age.
Yes. Yes. And that was the other thing was these guys were kind of party guys. So that's why I think he wanted that. But it was also...
No, you got to get comfortable, man. Granted, you don't want them coming home at 4 a.m.
No,
by
but you
that
want
same
to
token, like,
unwind a little.
go to the bar, have a drink or two. Like,
Yeah.
who cares? Yeah.
So they're eliminated from the 86 World Cup. Just to reiterate from another podcast, Maradona has that
Hand of God.
and then beats Spain in the finals. So that's not the one where he's on whatever. Yeah, horse tranquilizer, not tranquilizer, whatever, ephedrine, horse. Yeah. But the 86 FIFA report said that the Danish played the best soccer of the whole tournament.
Wow.
So just because, and this is why I found it so interesting, was Argentina coming into the tournament lost, I think, 6 of 7.
Dang.
Denmark won 8 of 8, like I said before, or not 1 8 of 8, but like won, I think 4, but didn't lose.
It's tied. Yeah.
Yes. And the most important thing for these teams is that they play their best soccer at the best time.
Yeah.
So like if the 86 World Cup was held in 85, they probably would have won.
That's amazing. No, you got to catch lightning in a bottle in tournaments like that.
Especially, and then if like the 84 Euros was in 83, they probably would have won. Like that's those years, they were so good, and then you just see them just kind of like drop off, and you're just like, no.
Oh, weak sauce.
Yeah. So, and this is really where their dominance and these guys, they lose their golden generation.
Yeah.
So in 88, the Euros, they don't win a single game.
No.
So they qualify and they're looking good, but you can see by 88, this golden generation is over.
Yeah, lost all the group games to Spain, Germany, and Italy, I think, in the
That was
Euros.
the group of death.
Yeah. No, that kind of sounds like it from my limited understanding of soccer history.
Because people were saying, though, if they were going to be the country that, everybody was saying, they should have at least put up a fight, and they just kind of got whooped in all 3 games.
The old Ric Flair quote, if you're going to be the best, you got to beat the best, with a woo at the end.
With a woo at the end. That's pretty good.
Sorry, bro.
And then the coach, so then they didn't qualify for the World Cup in 90. And this is what I wanted to talk about with the 3 in the back, because the German coach ended up quitting when they didn't qualify. And there was all kinds of bullshit controversy about tax stuff. And he ended up coaching Turkey. But Germany in 1990 ended up pretty much taking their formation and their tactics.
Well, they won the World Cup that year.
And win the World Cup.
Yeah.
And that's what he said, was just like, well, if Denmark had any sense, they would have kept me with my formation. Can't you see Germany won this year? But Germany had the fucking...
I was going to say better players.
They had the guys lined up for it. And it was, that Jurgen Klinsmann wonderful, German victory. But that's the thing about the tactics have to be right and the personnel has to be right.
Yeah, and that goes for any sport.
Yeah, exactly. And then that ends us with Denmark getting into the 92 Euros. But you know what? I feel like that's for another podcast.
That's for another podcast, everybody.
Thank you all. Hey, everybody. This is just a stock message at the end of every episode. We hope you enjoyed whatever athlete and or team that episode was about. Just want to say, give us a quick follow on all social media. We have a YouTube channel, the Sports Experience Podcast, and we're on Instagram, DiTolla Dominic, and myself, C. Quinn Comedy. So give us a follow all around. We're always recording right here at Engle Studio. Thank you all very much.